Cam fam, welcome back and welcome to Keeping Up with Cam. If you're new here, thank you so much for tuning into our channel, and if you're a returning subby, thank you so much for coming back. So today we have our toddler boy hairstyle video number 84. So we are getting started with this new machine. This is the Knot Doctor by Conair. I am going in with the Chi Infra Silk Infusion. This is what I use as a heat protectant. I get the very small bottle. It works wonders. It lasts long. See, I use just a little bit, rub it in my hands, and then I put it on, especially because I'm not using a lot of heat. I'm not using the blow dryer for long in his hair, so I don't have to use as much. I get that little bottle, lasts me forever. So I'm going in and putting it on the lowest heat or the medium heat. I did not go high. And I'm just going through and I'm just getting the ends done and the roots done. It looks crazy, like I'm pulling at his head. Just keep in mind this video footage is sped up, but it does also take a little bit of force, a little bit of movement. So I did have him help me by holding his head a certain way, but it is very easy to use. Wrist movement, there's nothing to it. So this is just what his hair looks like after being blow dried. Got as close to the roots as I could and got all the ends. I don't really want to put too much heat. I don't want to get it too straight because I'm not trying to give him a silk press. So it's just making sure that the hair is usable. So I'm going in with my Camille Rose Honey Hydrate leave-in. I love this. I love it. I don't put too much on his hair. This is not something you would put in your hair if you were doing something like a silk press, but because we are braiding our little one's hair, this is perfect because it's going to hold in that moisture and hydration when we braid. So I'm also using my olive oil and Jamaican black castor oil that I've concocted together. It is almost done, so I am going to need to refill it soon. But as you can see, I'm going in and I'm just adding that to the hair in as many places as possible. I just want to get that all over, saturate that in so that when we do braid this protective style, it is actually protecting the hair. Alright, so once we've made sure that the hair is fully detangled and we're ready to work with it, I'm going into part. Now, the style is only about 10 braids, and you would think it's super simple. Oh, just go in, get out. It took me a bit of time to part this hair out, and I don't know if I portrayed it properly for you guys, but I was just freestyling it as I went and I was just trying to make it work. So it did take me a while to part it. I had an idea in my head of how I wanted it done, and I'm going to explain that as well as I can here. So I've started out and I did not want a middle part. I'm trying to, spice it up a little bit and make sure that we don't just get stuck with that middle part in the head. So I'm doing a crossover type of braid style. So this first braid, even though it is on the right side of the head, it is starting on the left side of the head. So we're going to start at the edge of the hair on the left side and we're going to come straight down to the right ear. Then the next one is going to be skinny. So we're going to alternate in between big braids and skinny braids just to kind of give it that little bit of contrast, and just make it look cute. I really like the way that the skinny braids look, but the skinny braids would take forever and a day if I did a whole head of those, because he has so much hair. So it's always just a little sprinkle in and out. It's never a full head of skinny braids. So I did those two on the right side, and now I'm meeting the braids at the tip on the left side to create the ones on the left side. So I went in and I did a large one on the left side and then a skinny one beside that. Now I'm going in on the right again and I'm making another large one, and then I'm going to make another skinny one. So it's literally just alternating between large and skinny until you get to the back, and it's going to be a little bit different, but I will show you guys that in a second. So it was a little bit of trial and error to get this design to make sense on his head the way it was making sense in my head. So I was going through and just making sure that I had the right sizing for the parts that I wanted, but I want you guys to know that you don't need to concentrate on that too much. You just want to get like the rough draft of what you're doing, get your sections, get your parts, get your design, and then once you have all of those things sectioned off, you're going to go back in and clean it up. That's when you go back in with your gel, when you go back in with your product, or no product at all, depending on how you're braiding. But that's when you're going to go back in and you're going to clean everything up, make sure everything's neat, make sure all the sizes match up. Symmetry is still our friend. Symmetry is still the goal, even if we're not doing a complete symmetrical design where it's the same exact design on the left and the right. We still want to make sure that what we're doing on each side reflects the other side. So we want the big ones to be the same size for big and the little ones to be the same size for little, and we want to just make sure that everything's meeting up in the bottom properly. We don't want to have some that are bigger at the bottom, some that are smaller, like at the nape, and we just want to make sure that our lines are as neat as we can get them. So going in here, as you can see, I've done as much as I could in terms of the big and the small, and I was left with something that kind of looked like a triangle, and I'm just going in and I'm going to make that 3. So you also want to pay attention to how much hair you have left at their nape, because you want to make sure, like I said, everything is matching up size-wise. You don't want it to look weird. So I went in and I made that one big one, and then I'm making a small one beside it, and then I'm going to have a third one that's a little bit bigger than the rest, but it kind of just balances everything out. So it's going to be about 3 in the back, and it's going to be more of a triangle shape than it is going to be like a straight back rectangle shape. All right, forgive me because I didn't have my camera set up. I was holding it in my hand for this because I wanted to get you guys as close as possible. But this is what the braid pattern will look like. So I have the first one at the front there going from right here all the way over to the right ear. And then I'm having the small ones. You see the ones that come down on the left side, and it's just big, small, and then in that back area there, you see that I have that triangle part, which makes the 3 of them. Now for cleanup, so we're going in with our Shine and Jam. I use the yellow. This is the extra hold. It's just what I prefer because it works really well while braiding, but it doesn't keep that casty, crunchy, white residue on the hair. So I go in with that and I'm cleaning up all my parts. Don't think that I don't have to clean up. I have a lot to clean up. I just may not show it in the video all the time, but I think you'll probably see it in this one, seeing as it is an extensive video. But yeah, you're just gonna go in and just clean it up as much as possible. You want to make sure that your lines are straight, especially with a style like this where it's like a abstract kind of design, an off-centered kind of design. You want it to be intentionally off-centered. You want it to be intentionally coming from the angles that it's supposed to. You don't want it to look messy. You don't want it to look curvy, because then the style is going to look like it's something that just happened and not something that you tried to make happen. Alright, so this is my favorite Denman Brush dupe. I keep saying that I need to go get the actual Denman Brush, but for now, this works absolutely well. I will have it in the description box if you want to get your own. But I go through and I detangle, our favorite word, detangle. So after I've done that, I'm going in with our Easy Edges Temple Balm Edge Control Gel. I did buy this for myself because I was going to do a ponytail at one point. Never ended up doing the ponytail, but I do like the texture that it is. As you saw there, it's like a pomade. I don't like the eco styler. I find that it just kind of reverts the hair, especially if we've spent our time blow drying the hair, and then now we're just going to put a water-based gel on it. It's just going to curl right back up and negate all the work that we just did with the heat. So I use these pomade type gels. I find that they lasts really well. I like to use this more so towards the perimeter because it allows for everything to just sleek in and keep the style looking neat. But especially with this style where we have a good amount of larger braids, I'm also going to use this pomade gel instead of using the Shine and Jam, because this allows me to mold the hair and it keeps the formation of the hair. When I did take the style out, it was still hard. I did leave the style in for about 2 weeks, I believe, so it still held its form. It kind of had a little bit of a white cast, not too much. So overall it did work well, but if you're looking for something that really leaves no trace behind, it does what it's needed to do while braiding and just kind of keeps the hair in place, I would just continue with the Shine and Jam. So I went in, and as you can see here, I'm braiding. I'm trying to get all of the hair in, and it is a task because one, I want to get all the hair in so that it is neat, but I also don't want to put too much tension. I don't want to put too much pressure. I don't want to make it too tight because this is right on the perimeter of his hair, right on the perimeter of the scalp. I don't want to cause tension. If you find that you've done this style or done any style and that there are tension bumps, little red bumps, little red boils that come in, whether it's in the front, whether it's in the middle of the scalp, or it's at the nape of the hair, you need to take that style out immediately. You need to let their hair breathe. You're going to want to wash out any product because there could also be an allergy if you've been using product on that part of the hair. And you're just going to let their hair breathe out for a little bit before going in and doing any other style again. And when you do go in and do another style, you want to make sure that it is not tight at all. Very simple, very easy, low maintenance style, because we've now added so much tension and friction to the hair. It's causing a reaction. We don't want that because that's going to lead to breakage. That's going to lead to their hair falling out, and that can lead to a lot of other things that we don't want. So make sure you're being very mindful, especially around the perimeter of the hair, the nape of the hair, to make sure that you are not being too tight. So once I've braided this down, as you can see, super normal braid, I add an elastic to the end just to keep everything in place. Okay, so second braid, thin braid. We want to make sure that it is as even as possible. You can notice more so uneven or slanted parts, uneven proportions of the hair when it's smaller compared to when it's larger. So you want to make sure that you have everything the way that you need it to be. Once you go ahead and you add whatever product, whatever gel that you would like to have on the hair, you're just going to take your time and you're going to braid it. I would say going back, but it's technically going to the side, but you know what I mean. You're just going to braid down that portion of hair that you sectioned out. So as you can see, I am taking my time. It is sped up, but it is going slow. I just want to make sure that I don't have any flyaways in the hairs, in the part that I'm doing. So if you need to add any alligator clips, any types of clips to keep the hair out of the way, go ahead and do that. I tend to not do that only because I am recording at the time and I want you guys to be able to see as much as possible. But it is very helpful to have as many clips as you need in the hair at whatever time, because that way you can have all the hair sectioned out, everything parted out, everything removed, so that you're not getting anything tangled up and it's not making a mess for you as you go. Typically when I braid these skinnier braids, I don't put an elastic on the end because they kind of hold their form really well. But because I have the elastics on the larger braids and they're all together, it would look weird if every other braid had an elastic and not all of them. So I did add the elastics to the skinny ones. It's up to you if you want to put elastics at all, but I would suggest if you are putting the elastics that you put them on all, not just some. So I am going in now on our third braid. This is another large braid. I've added in my product to the hair. I am trying to mold that in as much as possible. You don't have to worry about molding too much with the skinnier ones because, like I said, it's not a big section of hair. But when you have these ones with the large section of hair, you want to make sure that everything is scooped into the middle so that it's easy to braid down. You can also do another technique where you add add some of the product, some of the gel, whatever you decide to use, into the middle of that parted section. So I would have just split that section in half, and I would have put the gel, and I would have used my comb or my brush to comb everything, brush everything to the center, and that just helps lay it down even more with these bigger sections so that you're able to just grip the hair all in one and keep it looking neat. I did do that with the last braid, so if you look out for that, you will see that. You can do that with these other braids if you like, but I definitely did utilize that with the last braid that I did. So as you can see, I'm just going down, making sure that I'm collecting all the hair as I go. You want to make sure that you check in with your little one, make sure that it's not too tight, that it's not hurting, everything is okay. Sometimes they are a little bit dramatic, so we have to be able to differentiate between if it's actually hurting them or if they just want to complain. I tend to not ask too much because I don't want to really take him away from what he's watching and make him pay attention to what I'm doing. He wouldn't complain either way because he's actually really good at staying still for these. But if you have a little one where that you want to keep them as distracted as possible, I wouldn't check in with them too much, because then they just might take that as an opportunity to complain and try and get out of you doing their hair. All right, so we're going in with our fourth braid, which is another skinny one. As you can see, this is a great angle to show where our first two braids really started, and then where our second ones are coming in. It's in this step kind of staggered look because the two on the left side are meeting at the beginning point of the first two on the right side. So it would all make sense at the end, but we're just kind of working. It's kind of like a puzzle. You have the first two and then the other two meet it, and then they just kind of continue going back and forth with that style. So as I'm doing these skinny ones, I just want you guys to remember that with these, you want to take as little of hair as you can when you're adding hair and braiding down. If you remember from the last video that I did, which is the in-depth of how to braid, like holding your fingers and stuff like that, D is the piece where you're adding the hair. So when you use your A, B, C, you're going in with those and you're collecting hair from D to make the braid. You want to have as little hair as you can in these ones so that it doesn't get too chunky, too big, too fast, and it just doesn't look nice. So make sure that you're just taking little pieces as you go down so that the skinny braids stay skinny and look neat. Make sure when we are parting, we're going all the way down to the bottom of the nape, because as you can see there, I had hair that was belonging to another braid in this first braid, and we don't want it to look off even at the bottom. So I've gone in and I've added in that pomade gel that I showed you in the beginning, because this is a perimeter braid and I want to make sure that it's molded as much as possible, because that way it's going to stay as neat as long as possible. But if you did look, you would see that there was a little bit of white residue when I added that product. I did brush and comb through it and it disappeared. But if you're using certain type of products, it may react with the gel and it may cause for it to give you a bit of a white cast or any residue. So just pay a bit of attention to that. Make sure that you're not putting too many things in the hair at once. I do have the Jamaican black castor oil and the olive oil mixture on the perimeter of the hair, because I like to just make sure that we're a little bit more protected on the perimeter, because we do a lot more pulling along there. So that may have been the cause of why there was a little bit of residue when I initially added the gel, but like I said, it went away and it didn't come back or cause an issue again. But just keep that in mind for any products that you might be adding to your little one's hair. It may look like Cam is holding onto this iPad for dear life, and that may very well be the case. But I find that when he's watching the iPad, I can really kind of just move him where I need to move him, and it makes it a lot easier for me to braid without any issue. If he's not watching something, if he's not reading, if he's not concentrated on something, he's going to be talking to me, and that means he's going to be trying to turn around and look at me while he talks, and he's going to be playing with something and holding something, and it just makes it take a lot longer to get it done. So I find that I have him hold the iPad so that he just stays in one position and I get it done. The other alternative to that is I turn it off for a moment and just tell him, okay, listen, we're doing this one braid, let's like just get this done, and then you can turn the iPad back on. It's difficult because some people think that you shouldn't be giving a lot of screen time. I'm very regulated in the screen time that I give him. He gets his extra doses when he gets his hair done because I need him to sit still. But during the week, during regular time, he's not just sitting on the iPad. So yes, he does have his iPad when I'm braiding his hair, but that is because it helps me just as much as it entertains him. And he does do a variety of different things with it. The shows that he watches are educational. If you would like to know what we watch, I can let you guys know that as well. And if you look at the beginning of the video, you would see he was actually reading a book. We have a library app that allows him to take out books and read books on the iPad itself, as well as physical books. So we alternate between what we use the iPad for, but it is a great help when doing his hair, because I get asked a lot, well, how do you get him to sit so still? Like, my little one would never do that. It is a little bit of the fact that I've been doing his hair since he's 1, and a lot of bit of the fact that he's just a really great kid and he listens. But having the iPad so that he has something to concentrate on, has somewhere to keep his head, is really a great help. Alright, so my camera's about to die when I'm finishing up this braid, but it's literally just that braid, and then we're going into the next one. Nothing we missed. So as you can see, this is the section where I was telling you guys that it's a little bit different than the rest of the hair. So I'm going to be breaking this down into, I believe, 3. And I've gone in and I'm separating that first one. It's going to be a bit of a bigger section. I think I do a big, a skinny, and then a really big. Just because I wanted to finish it up without it looking kind of weird. So I've gone in and I've done this section. It is a thicker section. I've added my Shine and Jam, and I'm going in with my rat tail comb just to clean everything out, making sure that even at the end of the nape that the hair is still sectioned to the right portion. Everything that I do use, combs, brushes, products, it's all listed in the description box below, just in case you guys want to understand or know what I'm using. I'm not sponsored, I'm not affiliated by any of these products. I just let you guys know what I use just in case you want to use them as well. So I've gone in now and I'm just braiding that down. This is more so like a regular like straight back braid because it's going from the middle of the head to the back. So again, I am concentrating on making sure that all the hair is molded and scooped into the middle as I'm braiding, because we want it to look neat, we want it to look seamless, we want to make sure that it looks intentional, and we want it to last. So as you can see, I've gone in and it wasn't as neat as it needed to be towards the nape, and you will realize that sometimes it is a little bit different because, like we've discussed before with moving scalp, you part their hair and it looks one way when you part it, but once you add that tension, when it's taut and you're actually braiding, it's going to look like it's parted differently. So when you do originally part the hair, you want to try and hold the hair in both of your hands, and that way you can kind of see where the section that you've just done will land. And if it still looks straight, if it still looks like what you're looking for, then you're fine. If not, then you can just readjust as you go and make sure you get it as neat as you need it to be. So as you can see, I'm done with that one, and now I'm doing my skinnier braid, and then I'm going to finish off with one last large braid. Parting is honestly the most tedious part of braiding, and it's like if you just had a way to just snap your fingers and get it done, braiding hair would go so much quicker. But because this style isn't as symmetrical, isn't as straightforward as most of the parting of the styles that I do are, I wanted to let you guys see how I'm going in and how I'm cleaning it up and what it's looking like. So that's why this video was a little bit longer than most of them. But I hope it was helpful in that way so that you guys kind of get an idea of what I'm doing, and you're kind of aware of what you need to do so that you can replicate it yourself. It is very stop and go. You are going to stop, you are going to put a clip, you are going to detangle, you are going to comb it through. It's not just as easy as it looks like when you see the videos that I put together. There's a lot more that goes into it. A 15-minute video could take me hours of braiding, and I've condensed it down. So don't think that it's supposed to go quick. Don't think that it's easy. Take your time, straighten out all your parts, get all your sections looking as neat as you need them to, and don't worry about how long it takes. All right, see how much gel I got here? Yeah, because like I said, this is the larger section. This is the final one. I've split it in half straight down the middle, and I'm adding in a little bit of gel in there. You can add in more, but I always go in with a light hand with product in his hair. That's just me, maybe being a little bit too overprotective, maybe just, you know, freaking out a little bit too much, but I just go lightly, but I do add it in. And now that I've done that, I have brushed it out with the big brush, and I have combed it out, and I have made sure that it is completely detangled, and I'm going through and still using my comb as I go, because this is a larger section. It will detangle, it will catch on itself, and you want to make sure that it is staying neat. As you see here, I've switched my hands into that like claw grip, because it's easier for me to grip all the hair as I'm going. Again, I did demonstrate this in my previous video, which is the detailed how to braid video. It is linked. If you have not already seen it, go check it out. Lots of tips and tricks in there that will help you guys. But as you see, I went through, I did that, and it looks great. So the last one is a little bit larger, but it just ties everything together, and it just comes together seamlessly. Alright, time to nourish our scalp. I'm using my 100% Indian hemp hair and scalp treatment. This is by Kuza. I'm going in and adding this to all the scalp that you can see. Some people like to add this before they braid. I personally like to go in at the end, because that way I know exactly where I need to place it, and the hair isn't too greasy as I braid. So keep in mind that this is very natural, so it is going to have little bits and pieces of the herbs and the things that they use inside of it. It will go away by the time they wake up, but it is there just so that you're aware. But I love this thing. It works great. You can use whatever you like, but just make sure that you are nourishing their scalp. And voila, guys, this is our final result. This is what our style ended up looking like. We used 10 braids. It did take a little bit of time to work up because the parting for this is a little bit intricate, so keep that in mind. But it came out looking great. Kamari absolutely loved it. He said, "Mom, you made a K in my hair," and I'm like, I didn't even realize. So it is kind of like a K if you look at the meeting points. But if you guys enjoyed this style, please thumbs up this video. Any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave that for us down below in the comment section. You can also find us on our socials. All of them are at Keeping Up with Cam, and I can answer whatever you like in the DMs. Subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. That way you will know when we have new videos, and share with your family and friends. And when you're done, come on back for the next one. We'll see you then. Bye.